Hello and welcome to another episode of your favorite daily podcast, A Couple of Things, a podcast about things. Today I'm going to be sharing some stories about light, electricity, the one in your house, the office, where you put on the switch and it works. Yeah, that. So, I've been living in the Netherlands now for almost 2.5 years, and something that still stuns me, maybe not stun is maybe not the right word, but like something that still I don't know, that I'm still marveled by, I guess, is just the fact that there's 24-hour electricity. Like, the number of times that I've had to think about electricity since I moved here is one time, but I'll get to that. So, I remember when I was in university, I was working as a social media manager, content creator, all of those things. And that meant that I was always, like, I had to always be online. And this was from pretty much my first year. At the time, I hadn't yet moved to school or near school, so I was going from home, and it could be a 2 hour journey or even more sometimes. And because I always had to be online, or I felt like I always had to be online, I was almost always connected to a socket. Like I knew where all the sockets that were working in my faculty were, and I was always near it. I had a reputation for being near sockets all the time, and this is because there was not always lights, and you had to, or electricity. People, whatever. Whenever I say light, I mean electricity. So there was not always lights, and I had to just always be connected to a socket somewhere. Like I had to find all the sockets for my laptop or for my phone, just so I could do my work properly and on time. And so also, so that like when I was going home on my long journey, I wasn't like bored, or I wasn't unable to be on the internet, because battery life of phones then was not that great. This was like the beginning of smartphones, BlackBerry era, whatever. So battery life was not great yet. So yeah, I was just basically always looking for sockets. Before we go on, subscribe if you haven't. Okay, let's continue. Yeah, so I was just really pretty much obsessed with being where I could charge my phone or my laptop so that I could do things. Then, growing up without constant electricity, not always having lights, having to use the generator, sometimes there's no fuel, blah blah blah. It was just very frustrating. And there's so much, and I didn't realize this until I moved here, but there's so much mental effort and mental energy and brain power that you put to things because you don't have 24-hour electricity. For example, have I brought the meat from the freezer out of the freezer? Because even if I have a microwave, there may not be lights to use to defrost the food in the microwave, so that's going to take 1 million years. Then, did I remember to put the food into the freezer? Because if I didn't and there's no lights, then the food is going to spoil. Or will the food that is currently already in the freezer last because there has not been lights, and maybe there's no fuel as well to fuel the generator because there's fuel scarcity, and so on and so forth. So there's just so much mental energy that you are directing towards these small issues, but that compound over time. And oh, did I plug my phone in before going to sleep? Because there's usually lights in the night when we're asleep. So if I don't charge my phone in the night, then I have to put on the gen or whatever. Like there's just always so many things to think about because there's not constant electricity, which is actually just an annoying use of your brain power and your brain space. So fast forward to 2022, I am now in the Netherlands, and for the most part, I pretty much adjusted to having 24-hour lights without thinking so much about it. Like I wasn't always like, oh, I need to plug my phone before going to bed, or oh, there's lights now, so I need to plug my phone, and all of those things. And so when I moved to my apartment, I was staying somewhere else before I moved to my apartment when I found my apartment. And when I moved to my apartment, we had a power outage a couple of months after. And when that happened, it didn't even cross my mind that there was a power outage. So how I realized this was that my phone wasn't charging. And I was like, this is strange. Or no, I think my laptop like had a low battery thing come up. Again, at this point, you guys, before when I was in Nigeria, there was no you could never ever catch me with my battery below like 70% on any device, because immediately there was light, I would plug in my devices. So, but I had gotten used to light, so I was like, yeah, whatever, I'll just plug it in. So my laptop battery was probably low, and then I had this pop up like the battery is low or whatever. And then I was like, oh, that's strange, because it was plugged in on my workstation, which was basically my dining table. And I was like, this is interesting. So I tried to do the socket thing to plug it properly. It still wasn't charging. At this point, it just still crossed my mind that there was no lights. And then I looked at my oven, and the time, because the time is always showing on the oven, it was off. I was like, this is also strange. But again, my brain didn't still think that there was a power outage. Then I noticed that the lights on my TV that is usually on because it's plugged in and there's lights was not on as well. I was like, okay, did something happen to the wiring in my apartment? But there was no like, like any sound that like something had happened. So I was just like, all these tiny things, like the extension box, the light on the extension box was not on, the light on. I was like, all these things, what's going on? And then I went outside. I opened my door. I did the most unlikely thing. Like usually I wouldn't even do that. I opened my door and went outside, and all the lights in my hallway were also gone. Like everything was off. I was like, what is happening? Did somebody like switch off because I hadn't gone outside that day by that point. Like did they switch off the lights and then switch it back on? You guys, it took like 30 minutes for me to realize that it was a power outage. So I had gotten so used to having lights that it didn't even cross my mind that there could not be lights. And so what had happened, that there was something. So I messaged on my building Facebook group that, is anybody else having like power issues in their apartment? And everybody was like, oh yeah, it's the whole building, the whole neighborhood. There was some wire thing that happened somewhere. And then they sent an email, and then within like a couple of hours, even faster than the time they had said. I think they had said it would take till like 9 p.m. or something, but way before that, like 3 hours or so before that, the light was back. So that experience just made me think about how I had gotten so used to, just a couple of months, and I had gotten so used to always having lights. Then on the other hand, sometimes I have these moments of panic where I'm like, oh, I haven't charged my phone. Oh my god, what if there's no lights? You guys, the trauma of living in Nigeria for the greater part of my life has still not left me. Because I still randomly have words like that where it's like, oh crap, my phone is like not fully charged, or it's like 50% or 30% or something. I haven't plugged my laptop in, and there's no lights. And even as I'm saying this, I'm laughing, but the fear is still there sometimes. Like I just have this random moment of panic. But yeah, that's my story about electricity. It's still just so amazing to me that it is possible to literally not have to think about electricity, because it's just there. It's a thing that is just there. You're not, man. Anyway, that's it for today. Thank you for listening to my electricity stories. I hope you have been electrified. I'm so sorry. Bye. Thank you for listening to today's episode of A Couple of Things. If there was anything you found interesting or insightful, or you enjoyed the episode, please do share to someone or multiple people. Like, leave a comment, and definitely do subscribe and all the nice things. Bye.